full region paranormal team, and I want to welcome you to our paranormal night. Like I said to some of you folks earlier, we hold this every third Monday of the month, each and every month, and we do different topics on the paranormal. Next month, for instance, it falls on the 21st, which also happens to fall on the day of a solar eclipse. In fact, in the western United States, it'll be the first 100% solar eclipse since '79. That night, we're going to talk a little bit about what solar eclipses are, and we're going to talk about some of the myths and some of the superstitions that are surrounded by it. This month, I was lucky enough to get the guys from Pennsylvania Bigfoot Investigations to come back for third time. Third or fourth time for me.
Every year.
They haven't gotten sick of it yet, but they came back and they brought a lot of stuff with them. And they always have an interesting presentation, always something new to share with us. So I'm going to get out of here so you don't get bored with me and guys from the PBI.
All right. Thanks everyone for showing up and listening to us ramble on. Raise your hand if you've been to one of our presentations before. All right, so we got a couple. So just to introduce everyone, I'm Jason.
I'm Bob.
And I'm Rob.
And that's my wife, Michele. She'll chime in when she feels necessary and bring us all back down. A little bit of background about us. We started our group in November of 2013, Bob and I, and Rob was involved too, and so was Michele. And so coming up this November, we're going to be going on our 4-year anniversary. We just completed our 63rd investigation, I believe. So we spend a lot of time here in Northeast PA, Central PA, taking Bigfoot sightings. If we don't have a lot of sightings going on, we'll look at Google Maps and try to figure out a good area to get into. And I know just 2 weeks ago, Michele and I, we were up investigating in the Adirondack Mountains outside of Lake Placid. So every now and then we get outside of Pennsylvania. So what I'm going to do right now is, this past April, in the Wallopin area, we had a lot of activity, and I'm going to turn it over to Rob, and he could talk a little bit about.
Yeah, what you're seeing here is a print that we found. I'm not going to say where because it's very close to my house. So, but what had happened was my son Emerson, he was.
And here's the cast from it. If anybody wants to take a look at it later.
He was in the woods, pretty close to my house, and I was in the yard mowing and doing some other stuff. He came out and he's like, "Dad, you gotta come out and see this." I'm like, "Whatever." He's like, "Come here, you guys see this?" I'm busy right now. He goes, "No, you really gotta come see this." So finally, reluctantly, I went in the woods with the sticks, and we saw this print right here. And this is the first print we found. And what happened was we actually followed a trail of these prints, probably almost 17 of them, right?
Yes.
With the measuring disc, a stride of almost 6.5 to 7 foot. These prints, as you'll see in other pictures, are 16 feet long, or 16 inches long. And what was the width that we measured? I think we have it on camera there.
Yeah, we have it somewhere.
So what had happened was, you can very distinctly see the heel and the big toe, another toe, and these two toes curled in because it had actually stepped on this rock. Now when you look at this cast here, we were able to get the curl of the toes into the rock, which if this was faked, would definitely be hard to do. So if you guys are really careful with it, I'll pass it around. You guys can look at it. It's my first cast. It's thin.
Please don't break it.
Very fragile.
Please don't break it.
Alright, if you guys really want to see it, you can come up. But you can actually see this, the toes curled into the ground, just like if a human stepped on a rock, you would do. So,
And that's right in here.
that was the first cast, and Emerson found it, and asked him, I thought he was messing with me at first. I actually was getting mad. I told him, if you're messing with me, you're grounded. Until we followed the whole trail. Jason came over and we followed the trail way in the woods. And we actually found another print way in the woods that was not castable, unfortunately, because it would have been a really nice print. This is the second print, and they all measured exactly the same, 16 inches. Do we have a picture of how wide it was? I don't know if we,
There's another bad one. I can go back.
that's some of the evidence that we found.
I don't think we did.
All
Or we never tested it.
right, well, we did measure, I just forget what the width was, but they all measured exactly the same, which also made it very believable. And hard to deal with, hard to, so, when you come up, the third wonky print is kind of hard to tell. You can kind of see toes.
And that one broke in half, unfortunately.
I ran out of plaster. I did the best I could with it. So when we got the prints, this is one that actually goes almost a whole foot. With the heel, we got 1, 2, 3 steep toes, big toe, the ball of the foot, and the heel. Another thing about these prints was, if you can see them in the pictures, the heel sank in like someone walking, and it came up, and the ball of your foot was sink in, and it came up, and there's actually little pieces of dirt, and then the toes. So that was my area. And the interesting thing was, I had heard wood knocks. I just didn't really, pay that much attention to them. So things have been pretty quiet until
dun, dun, dun.
Saturday night. My wife and my daughter were locking chickens up, and we heard they heard a big crash in the woods. And what had happened was a tree branch had fell, and at that time they heard something huge run through the woods. My daughter came in bawling. I mean, scared to death. In fact, she didn't sleep in her room. She still hasn't slept in her room since then. Bawling. So I went out to investigate. It's in the woods, it's dark, I can't really see anything. But I heard a faint whistle. And so I whistled back. I go, and it would answer me. And it would keep going further and further and further away. So that, obviously I don't have any evidence for. It's a story, but it's a pretty cool story. It kind of leads credences. And here's a better picture.
Yeah, these are the ones you sent me.
You can see the toe, you can see dirt, raised up, toe, ball, and the back over there would be the heel. So, and there you go. I actually had to try to get on the ground to take that one. And you can see the toes, heel, that's where it stepped on the rock, and the toes are actually dug in.
Did you try any knocks?
I have tried knocks. My son always goes out and tries knocks. The only time I've heard wood knocks is when I let the dogs out early in the morning before I go to work. That is around this time that we found these prints. I have not heard them since. I did hear, and that was 3 mornings. So, is it something traveling through? I don't know. Here you can kind of see the stride. So that stick is one print. Next stick is another print. And it's kind of hard to judge from that picture, I understand. So, I think these are the same ones. And that's my foot next to the foot there.
Now, Rob, it's not your first experience with one.
No, I am from Washington State, so I'm sure a lot of people have heard, about Bigfoot in the Northwest. I've actually seen one of these with my own eyes. I was about 8 years old. My grandparents ran a dam on the McBride River, and what had happened was the dogs were going nuts. My grandmother was washing dishes after dinner, and the dogs came storming in. And we heard a noise, went to the window, and the deer was running out of the woods. They jumped over the canal, and there was actually about an 8-foot tall creature chasing it, right over the canal with it. In front of me, my grandfather, my grandmother, my dad, and my stepmother, and my brother.
Broad daylight.
Broad daylight, about 5 o'clock.
When?
About 5 o'clock in the afternoon. So, there's spots up there. We would go still at the fishing up there, and I can distinctly remember it. It is like a dead area in the woods. No birds would chirp. It's like you heard nothing. It was like complete silence, and you just felt like someone was watching you all the time. We would hear screams, yells. At the time, I was young. I didn't know what a wood knock was, but my dad would hear them. One time they cut firewood, and they got that distinct odor, and they stopped, and they went to look around. All I heard was a growl in the brush going nuts behind them. So, someone I've seen it lit on, I never thought I would get friends, So, especially close to my house, especially in this area. When I first moved to Pennsylvania, Bigfoot is big out in Washington State. We have Bigfoot crossing signs. It's illegal to kill a Bigfoot in Washington. When I moved to Pennsylvania, I never even thought of being out here. But to realize that Pennsylvania's in the top 10 for sightings is something that really, really shocking. So.
You said this was recent too, right?
This was this April.
Oh.
What happened the other night was 2 nights ago. So, and I live next to power lines, straight woods, So, the theory is they do like to travel power lines, almost like a highway. And like I said, me and Jason could follow the game trail all the way through the woods. We followed it right onto the other track, all the way up to the next house. It's very distinct, very wooded. But these we took some pictures. These were fresh breaks. There was no snow. Hadn't been any as before the big storm. Thank God. So this wasn't weighted snow.
Yeah, that was April, storm was March,
Storm was March, was it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. It's after the big storm. Sorry. Anyways, they weren't broke from the storm. I can tell you that. My mom's confused. These, we don't know. They were just sticks that we found when we hit the tree. My son could very well have those. So, this is what the area looked like. So as you can tell, it's very wooded. It's nothing but mountains and woods. Power lines. I'm not sure. You got more? Another hungry bird.
I think
That's Jason's foot.
that's my foot. I'm a size 11 and a half.
And you can see where it stepped on the rock. So that's why we didn't get a full foot on that one. And it made perfect sense that the toes would curl in on it. This is another one. The hill, this is actually raised up, and then you get the ball and then the toes. And that's Jason's foot. And like I said, this is that weird one that I tried to cast. It wasn't a very good print to cast anyways, but I tried with the plaster I had. So here's the 16-inch mark, and that's right at the heel. And then up there is the toe. That's the only really distinct thing you'll see in the cast feature. That you can see where the uploads of the toes and the heel kind of. So, this one, I mean, you guys,
Yeah.
that picture kind of speaks for itself. I think this one we've been showing. So.
Yeah.
Like I said, I didn't know.
Okay, so that's basically my story about that.
Another hot area for us in the past recent year, raise your hand if you know where Moon Lake is. All right, so mostly, if you don't, if you go down Route 11 towards Shikshini, West Nanticoke there, you hook up on 29 and you follow for about 5 miles and you hit Moon Lake. It's now part of the state forest. Well, across from Moon Lake is a big reservoir, and we've gotten a couple stories out of there. Maybe, Bob, you probably could tell me. Yeah. No, I'll find it if you want to tell stories. Well, you're better at telling the stories than me.
What are we talking about? Oh, you know more, but I wonder at that, that lady. Huh? Well, that was, I'm trying to find it.
Well, while they're trying to figure that out,
Go ahead.
let me tell you what I do with these guys. I unfortunately a lot of times will say to them when they bring stuff home, that's unfortunately the first time I went out with them we saw double bear prints. And I was like, those are double bear prints. But when they speak sometimes, because they're so busy, they'll have people who have sightings come to me. And they recently spoke somewhere, and there was a couple hundred people there. And what surprised me is there were people all over the room waiting to talk to me, had a little notebook. How many people who did not know each other, who did not come together, had sightings in the same area? A few of them were older hunters who told me after their sighting they would never go back to that area again. So things like that lend a lot of credibility to what's going on right now, because people are actually seeing something. There's people who wouldn't give their name, wouldn't give their phone number. They're like, I just want you to know. The lake where we can't hike right now, what's the name of the?
Lake Scranton.
Lake Scranton. The guys wanted to get up to Lake Scranton. Actually, the day they were supposed to go up there, the tornado hit. When you were doing that talk, I had 3 different people tell me about the area up behind Lake Scranton. The one guy said to me, he said, my father actually saw something when I was a kid and was obsessed with it his entire life, finding it again. And unfortunately, he never did. But he said the stories in my family go way back. So it's really neat sometimes when you're in a large group of people to have so many people come to you. You know, there was another area down outside of Philly in one of the wooded areas that I had 3 or 4 different people tell me about that same area. So those are the kind, when these guys follow up leads, it's not like somebody says, hey, I saw something crossing the road. But when you get 2 or 3 strangers calling you, it leads to, okay, now we need to go. They went up to Moon Lake because, how many people up there? You had at least, what, 2 or 3 different?
Yeah, up the Moon Lake area, one of our guys we talk to a lot, his name's Albert. He actually had experiences up there as a kid growing up. His family would hunt up there, you know, with coon dogs and everything when he was a kid. And there were several times that the dogs would come running back all scared, tails tucked between their legs. And then his friend's father would kind of go out, check the area, see what was making the dogs scared. And as soon as he came back, they booked out of there. And after they had gotten home, their friend's dad said that they seen giant human-like footprints there. And we just had another recent.
Little lady on Swamp Road.
Oh yeah. Another person we talked to right across from there, near the top of 29 on 118, in November, I believe it was, her and her family, it was her daughter, and I believe 2 other people, had a Bigfoot crossroad in front of them on Swamp Road right off of Route 29 near 118. And we went back and investigated the area, and we actually tried to mimic the strides that this thing took across the road and the way she described it, and we weren't able to mimic any of it. And just about a month ago, we had another person email Bob about an experience they had there as a kid.
Yeah, it was on the other end of the reservoir. He called it the swamp area. And I guess years ago they were there fishing, and he heard in the distance wood knocks, and then something, he said it sounded like a small herd of deer going through the woods. I think he said it was about a mile or so from where they were.
Yeah.
And then I think he said he tried wood knocking back, and he had like 1 response. And then that was just the rest of his story was that, like you said, he heard it sounded like something large going through the woods. He never saw it or heard it, just a couple of wood knocks and that was it. But it's in the same at the reservoir.
And another recent story we had, this was, I want to say late April, early May. A part-time job I work, I just happened to be working a Saturday, and I happened to notice an older gentleman wearing a Bigfoot shirt. So being that, you know, I do Bigfoot stuff, I got to make small talk. Hey, I like the shirt. And he told me a story of his encounter with one maybe 2 weeks before I talked to him on 118 near the Ricketts Glen Hotel, right there by the state park. He said that it was later at night and he was coming down 118 from Williamsport from visiting his daughter. He had to pull over on the side of the road to, you know, take a quick bathroom break. So he had the car running on the side of the road, just had the door propped open, was standing there doing his business, and he said in the vicinity of the headlights, he had something large, hairy, on 2 legs cross the road in front of him, and he's told me that he refuses to travel that road alone at night anymore.
Now, how many of you have ever seen a bear cross the road? I've seen bears cross the road. Bears don't have a 6-foot stride. Even a big bear doesn't have, because of the proportion of their,
Right.
they just don't. And most of the time, they don't go the whole way up, they drop down and run and take off. So that's one of the things I always look for in stories when people are telling me their stories. Was it upright? Was it upright the whole time? Because if it was upright the whole time, chances are, probably wasn't a bear. And if you could get a look, I always tell people, try to look at the face, even if you're afraid, because a bear is going to be distinct. It's going to have a snout, it's going to have bear ears, you know, it's going to look like a bear. But I think if anybody gets a good look in the face of a Bigfoot,
No.
I don't think it's going to be very pretty, but I don't think it's going to look like a bear.
Michelle is our skeptic in the group.
Yeah.
I was wondering that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
she keeps us grounded.
She kind of sounds like she believes, but, you know,
But I believe, until you can prove to me it doesn't exist, I will believe it.
Now you had a couple freaky incidents.
I did have a couple, and that's the whole thing is, you know, I've had a couple times where I'm out with them that things happen that you just can't explain. We hiked the one night on an investigation, and where we went into the woods, when we went in, was just a clean, clear spot by a lake, and it was pretty. But on the way out, it smelled like there were dead deer rolling in garbage. Like, the smell was unbelievable. And I felt like something was watching me. The hair on my arm stood up. I just took off. He's like, where are you going? I just booked for the tree line. I'm like, I'm out of here. And that smell was so bad that if there was something decaying, there's no way we wouldn't have smelled it. We went in, you know,
20
out of
minutes
the woods.
before we walked in.
Yeah, we went out of the woods the same way we went into the woods. And then what you were saying about the still dead areas, the one time that I was with somebody who did a call, a good Bigfoot call, every single thing in the forest, and this was on a hot night, and you've got, you know, the peepers and heat bugs and coyotes and everything else, everything in the forest went dead silent. And that was spookier to me than actually hearing something, was that complete dead silence. And it lasted, what, about a minute and a half, maybe?
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, you know, you heard little things starting to chirp back up again. But, so it was almost like those animals knew, hey, that's, you know, everybody quiet, something's here. So, you know.
Yeah, unfortunately, other than Rob, we're yet to actually see one. We've probably had every experience possible other than physically seeing one. Bob and I up by the Wilkes-Barre windmill phone up there, if you're going down 81 or going towards Bear Creek, do you guys know where the big windmills are up there? All right, so my grandfather owns a little bit of land there. He used to have a hunting cabin, got burned down twice. Well, anyway, we were doing a night investigation up there and camping over for the night. So Bob and I hiked out to this power line, and it was about 9:30 at night, and we were standing on the top of this power line, deciding, all right, do we want to put the effort in to hike all the way down this hill, then have to hike back up? So while we were at it, we decided we're going to try 2 rock knocks, kind of the Bigfoot version of a text message. See if anything responds. So we did 2 rock knocks, and about 30 seconds later we got a wood knock response back. Bob and I were the only ones on the mountain that night, other than my grandfather, who was about 3 miles away back at base camp, hanging out by the fire, drinking his highballs.
Listen, I was really
Yeah. So anyway, we did 2 rock knocks. 30 seconds later, we got a wood knock response back. Did it again, 30 seconds later, got a wood knock response back. And this went on for a good 6 or 7 minutes. If we tried 1 rock knock, nothing. 3 rock knocks, nothing. Went back to 2, got a response back. So after 7 minutes, I think it figured out it was either done playing with us or that we were humans. Unfortunately, you run into these situations in the field that you get so caught up in the situation you're involved in that you go, oh crap, I should have been recording that. But we got some of it. And later that night after we had gone to bed, I was still kind of laying awake in the tent, and I heard something ripping off wood knocks around like 12:30 at night. Not too far from this area is the first time I took Rob out Bigfooting with us, and Rob had a little incident.
Yeah, we were hiking a trail, and
up in the Pinchot State Forest up there in Thornhurst.
yeah, and like I said, this is like really close to the area, and we actually got so far up in the trail, we heard grunting, and then so we heard it. Things went quiet. Walked a little further. Again, same thing. Finally, we turned around and started coming back, and I had either a rock or a stick thrown at me. And I thought it was Jason messing with me, but it wasn't. He heard it hit my backpack. I felt it in my backpack. So that was another pretty good experience. Anybody around here have experiences around here?
Just wood knocks.
The knocks?
Do you think they're nomadic or they move around?
I think so.
Or do you think they stay in generally a same area?
No, because like the prints, we found those in April. I haven't had
And
anything
nothing's
happen. Nothing until the other night. So,
Well, you think they travel in families?
Yeah, I feel as if they travel in family groups. I mean, I believe they're nomadic to a point, but I believe the same family group that could be near Rob's house 2 weeks later could be way at the top of Ricketts Glen, somewhere in the middle of Game Lands 57. Maybe hang out there for a couple weeks, kind of slowly make their way back down and just kind of follow where the food sources are.
and the whole area is either woods or power lines. So it's easy, it's not hard to travel, you know, walk in that area. It's mountainous, don't get me wrong. But for a creature that's used to it, it wouldn't be difficult for it to travel down to the river, Susquehanna, all the way up to Wilkes-Barre. You can follow the mountain. So you can follow power lines.
Didn't you guys start to try to track where they were going?
We tracked it as far as we
No,
could.
I know what she's talking
Oh,
I don't know if I still have it. You can go, keep going.
well, that set of fence we tracked as far as we could until we hit a road. It's actually my neighbor's road in. And we didn't find anything after that. We did track it backwards, and I found out one really good.
Right.
And then, I don't know, found anything.
But what you notice is when you actually start pinpointing all these encounters on a map, you end up with clusters of sightings. Yeah, you might have a group of 4 or 5 sightings in one area, and maybe 20 miles away you have another cluster of 4 or 5 sightings. So you want
Any other questions?
Yeah,
Did you ever get any more sightings in, like the Nashville area than what you have? Anything recent, anything?
Well, my house is not far from Antico. Go
Okay.
up the Alder Mountain,
Okay.
at the top.
Oh, cool.
So, my house is not far from Antico.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
So that area is rumored to be, you know, as you probably well know, it's all what is
Oh,
about.
yeah.
Why are they coming towards the cities more?
I think the cities are coming towards them.
But, you know, the guys took me up to a spot where they had somebody have a sighting. They were going, the one day Jay said, "You wanna come?" I said, "Sure." So here we are trekking to the top of this mountain, and when we got to where this guy said he had seen something, the first thing that I saw was you know how they have the billboards now that light up and the pictures change, it's not just a billboard. And well, this one has sparkles, and I was mesmerized. I'm just standing, and I'm thinking, sure, if I was a creature that just hung out in the wood and I saw that big, shiny, sparkly flash,
If you get to a
it
clearing
would
where you
attract
can
me, you know, like it would.
remain hidden, but yet you could sit there and see an entire view of the Wyoming Valley with traffic coming and billboards flickering and changing. And
Kind of like their version of people watching, you know, like it just a different view, a different.
But I don't believe that they're coming towards us more, besides maybe out of curiosity. I think, like I said, we're more intriguing on them at this point. Land is hard to get anymore.
All these developments going up.
Yeah, I mean, Mountaintop is, how big was Mountaintop 10 years ago to now? You know, it's just, slow down. What's that?
Seems like they're coming down from the north.
Um,
From Canada.
That's not real, there's been sightings in almost every state
off
besides
Hawaii.
One.
Hawaii. Yeah, so to say if they come from the north, they could have always been here, and they're just, that group that's always here, or maybe they do travel up from New York and come down. Elk migrate, lots of animals migrate, so it's hard to say, you know. But there's sightings down south, Florida, Georgia, all that, so.
It's funny, like, you went in a restaurant and somebody knows you have seen something or heard something, whatever. Other people start like coming over to you going, oh, and let me tell you about when we were hunting, you know, we
Right.
spotted one going, literally had the light on it, and we spotted right across the field. Guy gave up hunting, would never hunt again. They looked at each other at the end of it and they said, they just said, no, it couldn't be. And they never spoke a word of it.
Yeah, but we actually find that a lot once we post an investigation that other people come forward that also had similar experiences in the area. Like, you know, oh, that explains why we found this or heard this, or, you know, they'll tag one of their friends on Facebook, like in the comments, hey, remember that time that yada, yada, yada. So then before you know it, you post one investigation and you have another 4 or 5 potential ones that, you know, you're trying to get a hold of these people to follow up on.
It's a lot easier for people to talk about it now.
Absolutely.
Before I did this, I
Absolutely.
did paranormal investigations with a group called the PPA. You all got all these ghost shows now. It's a lot easier for people to talk about it now. Their experiences, a lot of people have experiences that before everybody thought they were crazy. The squirrels, everybody thought they were crazy. Don't know if they were or not. But it's easier to talk about now. People are more accepting of it. Go down to Gettysburg, what do you have? 20 ghost tours, and they're packed every night. People want to experience it. People want to talk about it. So, 20 years ago, you didn't talk about it.
Well, we always say too, 20 years ago, you didn't have mediums like us.
Exactly. And you didn't have Facebook.
You had the newspaper and the
Right.
TV station that thought you were nuts, where now you can sit at your computer and shoot an email and still kind of remain a little anonymous about it too. And we don't care if it was 20, 30 years ago, we still like to hear the stories.
I think the best stories that come out of one from Buffalo.
You came from Buffalo?
People that work in Canada, like the lumberjacks and stuff,
Mhm.
they could tell you, they try to coexist, their territory, just stay out of there.
My dad was a logger in Washington State for 30 years. He still lives back there. So, I guarantee you every logger has a story.
Yeah, because they say they just try to keep it quiet.
Yeah.
They really don't talk about it because they don't want to.
Right. And a lot of people are like that.
They have cabins up there that have been completely demolished that a bear couldn't even do. So they used to put all the big spikes there so that if the things couldn't walk onto it, they couldn't get into it.
I know guys who were logging for 5 to 10 years who one day said they'll never step foot on a horse again.
Right, and speaking of stories like that, we actually ran into a funny encounter when we were up Moon Lake and we were camping up there for the weekend. If you want to check out a beautiful newly reopened campground, go check out Moon Lake's refurbished campground. You can camp for free. It's awesome up there. But anyway, when we were camping up there for a weekend, one of the DCNR officers that were patrolling the area, just kind of making their rounds and seeing how everybody liked the new campground and everything, came in and started talking to us. So of course we had to make it known, hey, we're Bigfooters, you know, do you have any Bigfoot stories for us? And then her eyes kind of lit up and she was, you know, this close to going into full detail about some stuff before she remembered the other guy, her partner she was with, and she kind of pulled the reins back, but just from the smile she got and the little twinkle in her eyes and the way she started to approach the subject before she realized that she had someone else with her, you could tell that she definitely had some stories. And she made a comment along the lines of, I've been doing this for 30 years, and in that 30 years you come across some very weird and odd things, is kind of the way she put it.
No, oh, no, thank you. And some people do, and some people run to see it.
Yeah, yes.
I just like that you guys know, don't move, I froze, I'm once done. Not move, not work.
From experience, granted, I was little. Once you see one, that's what you do. You stand still. You're frozen in fear, basically.
Oh my God, you're not kidding. God is not the only one, thank
But,
God.
and if I was ever to see one again, I guarantee you I'll probably do the same thing. I'll just sit there frozen. I'm not gonna take out my camera and take pictures because
Oh
it's
yeah,
pop in your
that's what I'm
head.
thinking about.
And it's so over with by the time you think about that.
Well, and even if you think about it, how about the time that we were on that Gameland tour
Right.
in the car, and this family of deer came walking across the road. They didn't run, they just walked. All three of us got our phones out to take a picture and got like the tail. Like they were like by the time you get it out,
Right.
turn it on, push it, it's
Right.
gone.
I mean, I would assume that if you were to have an encounter, by the time you would see it, process what's happening, reach in to get your phone to take a picture, and by the time you would actually go to try to take a clear picture, it's long gone.
And I guarantee you someone's out there thinking game cameras, right? I'm sure someone here is thinking, why don't we capture more on game cameras? There have been some capture on game cameras, so we believe, like the one out in Pittsburgh and all that. I do have a theory on it. I don't know if these guys share it. I don't know. Animals see different. Dogs see different. Snakes see different. All animals see different. So there are lights on those game cameras. And there's infrared lights on the game cameras that shoot at night. So who's to say that these animals cannot see that camera? As camouflage as it may be, they might see those little red lights. if they're nocturnal, they're gonna have better eyesight at night. It's just common sense, you know? So that is my theory. I don't, like I said, it's just theory, you know? There have, like the Jacobs film, have been pictures. To me, the Jacobs film is great evidence. To me, it does not look like a bear. I've never seen a bear like that before. And I've been in the woods.
The limbs are too long with it.
Yeah, I've been in the woods pretty much my whole life. I have a bear rug at home. I've never seen one like that, you know. But to some skeptic, it may be, and it's a plausible explanation, you know. So that's just my theory.
I agree, because I have a game camera in my backyard, and I get pictures of deer all the time, and the first one, the head's down looking, the second picture, he's looking right at the camera, so they either hear it or see something.
Well, that's the other thing, they hear, animals hear so much more than we do. So even the little tiny electronic frequency noises, they're probably picking up on.
And to go about the scent thing, I was reading an article, gorillas actually have scent pockets in their armpits. And that is an actual deterrent for something that they feel threatened by. So, just to say, because they're scent, when you see one, sometimes you don't smell them, sometimes you do. You know, so you got to study the whole animal kingdom to start understanding one animal. You know, so.
Francis Slocum, we heard different stories about that last year? Different sightings that people
That's where I had the smell.
Is that where you had the
Yeah,
smell?
On the back half of it.
Yeah. Yeah, right by Francis Slocum there, the Back Mountain Trail runs
Yes.
through it. I actually had, what caught our interest in that area, because I kind of, wrote off the whole area at first, Back Mountain, Slocum,
A lot of people.
lot of people, houses, but I had a couple that contacted me, and they were driving up over Bunker Hill Road, and when you get to the top of Bunker Hill Road, there's a power line that runs through it. Well, he seen one coming from the power line down into the wood line right there. Same couple about a month later walking on the Back Mountain Trail about 4 o'clock in the morning, kind of joking around about the experience. Then had something on top of the hill rolling tree limbs off and rolling rocks down the hill at them. About a month later I met up with them and actually went up to where this was happening, and there's a lot of caves up there and an area that you can't easily access unless you really, really want to.
The Back Mountain Trail's here, and the woods start up by the ceiling. And between the woods and the ceiling, you'd have to be an experienced climber. There's even kids, there's no way to just scale up in there. And then it's all caves up in there.
I had another girl along the Back Mountain Trail that had a young juvenile walking along the tree line of her backyard and the wood line. I had a gentleman who had one cross the road in front of him at the corner of 8th Street and Mount Olivet Road by Slocum. Same guy that had experiences at the reservoir up there by Moon Lake. He was actually going to get on Cross Valley or whatever it is right there to head up towards the Back Mountain. And literally the same exact spot where this couple had one crossing the power line into the wood line. He seen one walking along the wood line there, watching for about 10 seconds as he was traveling, exact same spot.
Another area, when I first joined the group, my wife worked with the lady, and she couldn't wait to tell her when she found out I joined the group, is out here. If you take the road out here past the library to the pizza place, what's that pizza place name? Chicken Thomas. Go to the right, Summer Hill. Yeah.
Oh, that was.
She saw one cross the road up there. Yeah, yeah, and so yeah, I mean, if you look at a map, the whole state's really connected, almost, by mountains and woods.
Okay.
All right, we're gonna bring gentleman up and found this car. He got in touch with us towards the end of last year, in many of our talks. This is down in the Tumbling Run area.
Tumbling Run
Still
is
go
Schuylkill
Haven,
County,
Foxville
yeah.
area.
Yeah.
So we went down to investigate, so we're gonna let him.
I forgot how many hits we had on that.
That investigation had like 75,000 views of it. It was like our
Yeah.
first one that really went against
Yeah.
Rumble and stuff. So, just everybody, this is Jeff, he's gonna kind of tell you his story and we'll jump in. He can tell you how he found it. And then, like I said, we met with him and his friend and did an investigation. About a month later, I saw it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
late December or January.
But what kind of led me to call on these guys, I had been hunting this area. I grew up hunting this area, for at least 20 years. And back 10, 12 years ago, I started having, occasionally I'd have strange experiences. I've never seen a Bigfoot, you know, but one evening I was archery hunting for deer, and I climbed down at dusk, and I was taking my tree stand off the tree, and I had the headlamp on and off, and I heard what sounded like a woman screaming, screaming for her life, and all kinds of racket, branches breaking, and it was kind of pacing back and forth on the top of the mountain, and I was down, a couple hundred yards below. So it scared me, you know, so I'm getting all my stuff together real fast, and as I'm walking out, this, whatever it was, kept screaming and stayed back. And it basically stayed behind me where I couldn't see it, but followed me down the road and then stopped. And so that was, I never saw what that was, but it's strange, you know. And then a couple of years after that, I shot a deer at dusk with my bow, and the deer ran off. I went home and called one of my hunting buddies who was hunting somewhere else. Said, you know, I shot this deer. Can you come help me, you know, find it and get it out of the woods? So we met up out there, and it had already gotten dark, and we went up, found the deer, and as we're talking, you know, normal voice tones. And as we're bringing this deer, dragging it off the mountain, something is hanging back, making a heck of a racket, breaking branches, kind of doing semicircles around us, but it wouldn't come close enough to getting a flashlight beam. But it was agitated, you know, and it's strange. I don't know what that was, you know. And a few years after that, which would be 5 years ago in the summer, in August, I was going up to, I have game cameras everywhere up there all summer. And I was going out to check my game cameras. It was 2 in the afternoon on an August day, on a weekday. And I parked, I got out of my truck, started walking up the mountain, and all of a sudden I hear what I can describe as gibberish talk. It sounded just like those old subtitled kung fu movies. Real deep. They weren't words, but they were syllables, you know. It's agitated, like that. And then there was an answer, 200 or 300 yards over, an answer. And they kept going back and forth the whole time I'm getting these camera cards. And I left, and don't know what that was. So now up until last year, in the summer, I was bringing my dog out there and exercising her. And 3 different times, I put a bell on my dog so I keep track of her. You know, I'm throwing the ball in the water, and I would have trees. Big trees, they go down, they get pushed down. You know, don't know what that was, but it kept happening. And how many times, you know, do you hear a tree fall in the woods, you know? But last year, it kept happening when we were out with my dog. So then, in October of last year, I went out bow hunting, and
In this area where these pictures were taken, I'd say half a mile down the mountain, I walked in and I was climbing a tree, and out in front, I'm climbing a tree in front of me, it kind of goes into a hollow. It's like a dark with a bunch of pines. And I see these two white, I guess I call them shapes. As I'm going up, I'm looking, and I see these going out silently. And I didn't think much of it. I thought it might have been the back end of two deer. Maybe we're laying in there, and I'm climbing a tree, and I spooked and they went off. But then I got up in the tree and I realized what these were way high off the ground, because it got down into a hollow. And I'd say these were 10 feet off the ground, whatever they were. I don't know if they were birds or what, but they were kind of round, white objects going off. And so I settled into the tree stand, and a half hour, 45 minutes goes by, and I start hearing what I thought were acorns. There's a lot of oaks, and it sounded like acorns falling down through the trees. But then it started getting louder, and I realized they were stones. Stones, and I think what I call debris. We're raining down to this side and to that side, and next thing I know, I hear loud crack, crack, crack. A big tree, cracking and cracking, and kind of goes over. And so I'm like, what is this? Then I hear rock clacking. What I think was rock. It was like clack, 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 but it was very soft. Right after that, another tree goes down, like right behind me, like 10 feet behind me. But I couldn't see in there. It was like all thick pines. But that tree just got pushed over. I didn't actually hear it the ground, like crack, 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 and then it stopped. I don't know what that was, So then comes this deer. This was the winner. I think
chicken dinner.
Yeah, I'd say the week after Christmas this past year, I was grouse hunting with my dog, and we're going through. It was thick brambles, real thick brush, and she's out in front of me, and I see her come back, and she stood behind me. And I thought, this. She's very unusual for my dog to do this, and I go through into a clearing, and I find the remains of this deer. Now, around the deer, it was all pretty ripped up, It looked like the deer died there or got killed there. And as you can see, it was like skinned. And you can't see in the picture, but it looks like one of the legs was broken. And is that the leg there?
Yeah, these are the ones we took.
Okay, it almost looked like it was attacked and something ripped the skin off. And then ate,
And you can see there's one leg back.
cleaned the
there.
meat off the
And
skeleton.
there's the bone, the leg bone, the meat.
But what was really unusual about that is how often would you hear of a dog finding something like that and turn around and getting behind you, She was really nervous. And this was several weeks after hunting season, so I don't know. I don't know why someone would have, shot a deer and done that right there anyway. But I thought that was really unusual. So that's when I gave these guys a call, and they met my buddy Len and me out there a couple weeks later. And
We got a tree pushed over on us.
and I guess we found those footprints too in the lake bed.
Yeah.
Right, which apparently a guy claimed he was squirrel hunting and went out there and took pictures, but yet I can't see how he would get that stride for as deep as
Well,
that one
and there
was
were no treads in the bottom.
Right,
either.
with us
Yeah.
trying to mimic it. And then a little bit further up the road as we were walking in, we had a tree pushed over about 100 yards in front of us. Crash, boom, bang, we all took off running towards it.
But a lot of unusual encounters. I didn't actually see, a Bigfoot per se, but a lot of strange things out there.
Right, and as what always happens is when we posted our investigation of his encounters and people started reading it, they started talking about theirs. So his encounter led to about 10, 12 other experiences in that same exact area.
And last month, hey, a lot of pictures there.
Yeah,
Oh, that's the footprints.
That's one of the first ones I took. I think there's, yeah, there's a video of me trying to mimic it. I don't know if that comes up.
I don't know. But there's the Prince Jason.
Yeah, that's Bob trying to. But there's a video of me trying to mimic this, and I'm literally slipping all over the place, and I'm falling over myself. And maybe other videos.
Yeah.
There. Schuylkill County. Yeah, here's me trying to mimic. So we're going to do a little demonstration of this possible tracking we found. The prints are about 13 inches long, about 15 inches apart, and they're in that tightrope walk type formation. So I'm 5'11", with the size of 11.5, so I'm going to try to mimic the stride of this person or whatever it is. So here's me trying to mimic it. So I'm trying to go side by side. It's a very windy day.
They're all pretty much in a straight line.
Yeah, I'm losing my balance.
So I'm trying to lose my balance just walking.
Trying to follow me, right? It's almost like there's two sections that going up.
Well,
So it just seemed odd if it was a person that they would take their time walking across a slate pit with 6 inches of mud, just, you know, even casually, you know, being able to walk like that, to where I'm really trying to concentrate and follow and not fall down and.
whoops.
No.
What's that?
That was, remember I did the live?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
In the kitchen.
Yeah, no kitchen. Yes.
What area?
Yeah, they were, some of them,
County was that
you
in?
might find
Schuylkill
pictures,
County,
but
Tumbling
some of them were real
Tumbling
deep.
Reservoir, yeah.
Some of them you can see
We're
the
down
smell in
from
them.
like Myers to up by Charlottesville area.
Oh, that's not too far.
Okay.
Yeah, it's between Schuylkill Haven and Pottsville, like right
Okay.
as you're going into Pottsville on the right.
Yeah, but everything we talked about tonight was all basically, for the most part, within the past year that we've come across, whether it was a 10-year-old report that we received this year, but it's kind of like all we had planned to talk about, because we know always people have questions or they want to come up and talk to us about their experiences, so we're just going to open the floor to you guys. If you have any questions or you want to talk about an experience you had, or wait till people kind of tag out for the night and come up and talk to us, so the floor is now open. Yes?
Well, do most of you, these people have sightings in the evenings, or do they have sightings in the daytime? Because I go out a lot in the daytimes, you know, by myself.
Right.
They seem to be all over.
Yeah,
They're like
early in
as far
the
as-
morning,
yeah.
mid-afternoon,
Yeah,
anytime.
it doesn't seem to be a pattern. Like years ago, people always say, oh, they're nocturnal. I don't believe that at all.
No, we go out more in the daytime than we do at nights. Just because there's more for us to see, whether it's prints or tree structures.
And
or
when you go out during the day and you're hiking, you can see the spider webs before you walk into them.
Well, I know that.
That's why they make me go first.
I don't know if you want to talk about these, Jason.
I'm still on the, I don't know what it was.
This is just kind of show you something. After we posted Jeff's investigation, somebody sent us these pictures. It was, I think I talked to you about, Jeff. I don't remember exactly where it was, the name of the mountain, but it was
Sharp Bat.
There you go.
Yeah.
And this guy sent us the pictures, and he said it was like, they were doing a bonfire, which to me it looks like a flare. And he had said Like, he'd come along after it took him, he looked at him and wanted our opinion on it, because he kind of sees something back in here. But you can see it's kind of, I don't know if a person or whatever would want to get that close to whatever they're burning, so I don't know if it's legit or not.
Now, Rob, you had a buddy that seen one at a bonfire out in Mackinac, right?
Yeah, it was actually up on, familiar with the area, the four-wheeler trails on the coal mines, strippings. They were up there partying, and there was about 10 of them, and they like heard the, the loose rocks move a little bit, and they actually saw a creature come from here, stand up, look at them, and walk off. So it was pretty, and this guy, trust me, he will make fun of me any chance he gets. So for him to tell me that story, I mean, we're friends, but for him to tell me that story, it was one where I didn't take it for a grain of salt. I actually,
It probably took a lot for him to tell you.
yeah. So, and I had to know the guy for a long time for him to start telling me. Nobody around here has had any experiences besides wood knocks?
Well, I did with the guys,
Yeah.
I don't know if you want to.
Yeah, if you want to talk
A
about
little
it,
bit.
that's a,
well, yeah, sure. What happened to me was we were just building our house. And in our house, and maybe only a couple other ones were, totally built at this time. And I'm painting, and I'm review section and and so I'm painting, and then all of a sudden, next to my house is a hill. We come down the hill. And I'm the only one there, and I'm sitting down on a 5-gallon thing of paint. Should I stay because it's so late? I'm tired. And I have to come right back up there in the morning, so should I just stay? And I'm thinking, what am I going to do? And all of a sudden I hear thump, thump. It vibrated so hard that I'm like, what the hell is that? So I go around to my front door, and I'm running to my front door, and I put my hand on the door to open it, and it screamed, pierced my entire existence. Oh, God help me. I couldn't move. And I feared nothing. I could not move. And so then,
investigation 22.
that was it. I never opened the
Yeah.
door, and whatever it was under the street light at the corner of my house.
Oh, no, you gotta
It made
hit
me
that
30
part.
feet away. But I just could not move. So I actually, I don't know, even talking about it now, it's tough. It's actually tough. But that was it for a while.
You should have just went right back.
My dog, who yapped at everything when I was a yapper, couldn't find him. Couldn't even find him. He was hiding somewhere.
Yeah, this is pictures from our investigation of her encounter.
Oh, yeah, I heard you didn't believe me at first, too. And, but anyway, so these guys came up and checked things out and stuff like that, but I've heard wood knocks and everything after that. And another thing is too, that about a week later, I was in the food store down from us, and this lady, we were talking a little bit about it, she said, oh my God, she said, did you hear that thing scream the other night? And I'm there like, are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? I said, we gotta talk about this. She says, oh yeah. So it ended up, I never got down there. She, believe it or not, she passed. Crazy that sounds. But we never did get to talk about it, but I was thrilled to death that somebody else heard that. Truthfully, it didn't matter whether you believed me or not, Jason.
I'm 100% on board. When I first heard, Nanny Coke and Honey Pot, I went,
Oh, and by the way, Mackinac, those roads that he's talking about, the stripping roads,
Yeah.
come up right behind my house.
right.
Are there any skeptics in the group? I like to, I like a skeptic to challenge me, or anybody that's wondering something,
I wouldn't say I'm a skeptic, but I do question why so many thousands of sightings and never a carcass. I mean, what's your theory on why?
How many hunters are in the group? How many times will an animal fall dead in the woods? How long does it take before it disappears?
I think they did a study, they did that, I think on that.
Within 24 hours, it's gone.
Really?
Bones,
I didn't know that.
everything, gone. There's a theory out there, maybe they do bury them. I don't know. To me, the more logical thing is,
Disintegrates.
well, animals get to them. Coyotes.
What's that?
And
I was trying to
then
figure out how to find
the
that.
maggots, then
My hand stick knocked.
and there's very little trace.
It's not in the video, because I
24 to 40
posted it
hours.
last time. I know.
So these things live way back in the woods, and they die back there. My dog, for instance, I had a dog. She must have knew she was gonna pass. This dog always stayed at home. I could let this dog
That was
out anytime I want. She ran away. The night she ran away, she passed. She must have knew she passed, and he was gonna pass. And I truly believe that she knew that.
Remember,
So, and I'm not saying this is what it is, I'm just saying as an explanation. They go way up there, they pass. There's been stories, a lot of people, a couple people say they shot them, there's dead ones. So far, that's not true, but, so, this is a plausible explanation.
Sure.
I've never seen a dead bear in the woods, ever.
I was just gonna say that, bears die out in the woods too, but you don't find the carcasses laying anywhere.
Never. Yes, sir.
Being that they're so elusive and they've never actually found a body,
Right.
what are your thoughts on like the theory of the UFO connection, that they're actually from another planet?
I personally don't believe in that.
Yeah.
Because I've seen them, I think they're a real animal. Do I believe there's UFOs? Sure. I don't think that we're the only planet out there that has life on it. I'd be stupid to believe that. But I personally don't believe it. I'm not saying it's wrong.
Yeah, and unless I personally see one climb out of a UFO or cloak itself and go into another dimension or whatever, and until I see it, then...
No. As you probably know, Albert Einstein believes that there's multiple dimensions. And that's one theory in ghost hunting, is that what you're seeing is another dimension.
Thank you, Joe.
Of that
Have a good one, thanks for coming.
of that soul. But I don't believe that Bigfoots travel that area. I think they're a real, actual animal, like you and I. New species are being discovered every year. It was 12 years ago, the giant squid was just discovered. Proven to exist. So, a lot of people don't realize it. A lot of the world has not been seen by the naked eye on the ground. By air, sure, but not on the ground. Now, I just looked at it, it used to be 60% of Washington State was not seen by the naked eye on the ground. Now I think it's down to 45. It's still a lot of the state. So wooded that, no human's been in
Place
there.
where nobody goes, yeah.
Right, I mean, even around here, if you get up to some areas up there on Game Lanes 57 and 13 up above Ricketts Glen that, nobody's probably walked in parts of that forest in, I don't even know how long.
Well, how about where we were up in New York?
Yeah.
That was just wilderness.
I truly believe it's just a matter of time. That's all it is.
Do you think they're as afraid of us as we are of them? Why they stay far back, but yet they'll make noises and...
I think so. I think they're curious too, But just like any other wild animal, I can't go up to the deer, it's gonna run, so. I think they're aware of us.
Yeah.
And I think they can be curious, and that's why you do get some of the noises sometimes, or maybe they're communicating.
And there's many on the different shows, encounters where, I remember seeing one where the children were playing in their backyard, and they just happened to look 50 yards in the woods, and there was one standing there watching them. Didn't mean they were gonna hurt them, it's just, we always say they're just as curious about us as we are.
Yeah.
But they've probably seen us kill animals, they probably watched us kill animals, they probably learn. Probably not somebody I wanna be in front of.
Yeah, you get all these, scary Bigfoot movies out now where they're portrayed as monsters. The most accurate portrayal of a Bigfoot in a movie is Harry and the Hendersons. Most accurate portrayal.
You look at the history of, through the ages, stories about Bigfoot, it's no wonder they're so elusive and they could survive this long. You can take that into account.
The stories go back to before we were even on this continent.
Yeah,
Native Americans, they supposedly lived with them.
How many words, don't they have a whole bunch of words like names?
I read it's like, they have over 400 different.
Yeah, Sasquatch, Yahweh.
Right, and you see newspaper clippings from the 1800s of, wild hairy men in the woods.
And growing up in Seattle, you get to go to the museums that have totem poles. And it's funny because at the base of a lot of those totem poles is what you would see as described as a Sasquatch. And these totem poles were carved before Lewis and Clark even set foot in that area. So, there's even Lewis and Clark, when they went out to that area with Sacagawea, there were stories of them encountering strange things, what they could describe as the same stuff we're describing now.
And the Vikings too.
And the Vikings. Any other questions?
I have a question. The noises that they make, could they sound like a bear?
I don't know, I truly believe they can mimic,
I think they're good imitators.
I mean, they grunt, they definitely
Yeah.
grunt.
I mean, the grunts that we heard in the woods,
What did they sound like?
it was a deep, how would you do, like,
Yeah.
but it was deeper. I can't get it that deep. And it was short, but,
Another question. Sticks stuck in the ground that weren't there before, is that common for those things?
Yeah, it's kind of their way of marking something, like, it's kind of like their version of saying, exit 35 on the highway, exit here for water, exit here for a deer bedding area.
has anybody watched the show Survivorman?
Yeah.
Okay, he did that short-lived series because he experienced so many strange things doing his other show out there. And one of the things was sticks bent over all the same directions along what would be described as a trail. So, I mean, maybe that's their sign for them as a walking path. Other animals mark their trails other ways, so.
I don't have a story of my own, but I wanted to share this with everyone. I was up in Maine last year.
It's better than my friend.
Yeah, a cryptozoology museum.
Oh, okay, up there in Portland, yep, we've been there, awesome museum.
Yeah, well, I had to get one of the replicas
Right.
of the Bluff Creek
Right.
track line, and this is one of them right here.
Yeah.